G'day, folks. So, the other day, went down to Koori Radio, which is situated in Redfern, Sydney. Sat down and had a yarn with the presenter, Lola Forester. She's awesome. Talked about the work that I'm doing down at Youth Koori Court, YKC, and the podcast, Keep Rolling. And what was awesome, so after my interview, got to sit in with Nate Howard. So he's a young African-American bloke from Los Angeles, California, USA. And he started a non-for-profit organisation called Movement B, which helps young people tell their story. And he talked about polarising topics around racial profiling and other stuff like that that goes on over there in the US. And he's a professional speaker, social entrepreneur, and a poet. And at the end of the interview, you see him throw down some epic slam poetry. So get in and have a watch. Righto, let's get into it.
Here to Australia, and it kind of goes on from what Jake was saying, and he launched a program called Movement B. It's a program for both boys and girls in juvenile justice detention centres in South California, and you might be aware too, we've heard a lot about killings by police, and so far in the USA or Turtle Island there's been 637 people who have been killed by police, mainly Florida. Then comes North Carolina, Louisiana, and Georgia. So we're going to find out from that here, Howard, about his movement and how he got involved in setting up this movement, as I said, here. And he's come to Australia, and he's been down to Melbourne at the Parkville. He's put a program in there, introduced a program there, Parkville College in Melbourne, and we've got him on the studio. Welcome, brother, to the program. Welcome to Australia.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it is really exciting. I mean, I've met a lot of people, especially, people of colour and that from the States, and others are saying, we're moving away because of the guns and all this violence that's happening over there, and we're still seeing people being shot or killed every day in the United States. Do you have an experience with a friend or family, or how did you get involved?
Definitely. I mean, just being a young African American in the United States is something that we deal with constantly. Whether it's people that we're around and connected to of stories with police or things that we're seeing in the media. It's a constant reminder that people of darker skin in the United States continue to be targeted by police. And victims of police brutality and misconduct.
Now we've just heard recently we've had a few police charged in regards to killings, which has been really great because it's the same here. We haven't had any police officers here charged with murders in custody, and it's kind of great in a way that the system in some areas have charged police officers with wrongdoings like killing people or wounding people over there. But your experience, where do you originally come from?
I come from San Diego, California.
Yeah.
Southern California, and I was born in the inner city of San Diego, in a situation where people in the inner city are trying to find out who they are, trying to get past those stereotypes, and trying to assimilate into the culture, but not really feeling like they belong. And so part of my experience growing up was really trying to get past these stereotypes, and then accepting myself for who I am, and not needing to be validated. So that's why my whole mission is tell your story before they do.
So are you a bit of a bad boy, or just a bit of, well, not a bad boy, but just growing up, just doing things that normal kids do, but because of the colour of your skin, it's put you in a different category?
No, it was interesting. I think I grew up somewhat a good boy because I was trying to follow everything that I thought was right, and then realizing that everything that was right was never set up for me to win in the first place.
Yeah, I understand. No, it is. It's a bit of a shock. It's like, when I left school, I thought racism stopped.
Yeah, for sure.
And I thought everyone grew up, and then it was, no, you're a coloured person, and we don't employ coloured people, and it was just like, what? Mm-hmm. Yes, not on your credentials, but on your face value there. So what made you get into this, to create this movement?
No, definitely. So I went to school, University of Southern California, USC,
Yeah.
and USC is a great university in Los Angeles, and it's in South Los Angeles. And people who know South Los Angeles, it's historically known for issues of discrimination. With police, there was a incident in '92, the Rodney King incident, the LA riots. These are a lot of things in South Los Angeles. And so here you have this university, this right in the middle of this community. And so here I am as a first generation college student going to this university and trying to find my place. But I'm also living in the community of South Los Angeles. And so here's this disconnect of I'm a scholar and I'm at this prestigious university, but I'm not feeling accepted. So there were times where I would be walking to school and officers would ask me, "Let me see your ID." Well, why aren't you asking him for his ID?
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I have to continue to prove myself? And so there was these little microaggressions that would happen often. How did you get here? I mean, USC is a big sports school, football, basketball.
Do they all look, what if you dress up? If you had a suit on, or would it matter whether you had a suit on or whether you had a hoodie on and a pair of jeans, or?
It could. I mean, but I mostly, came casually dressed to school, just to kind of be comfortable in class. And, I think it was more of a, this is what USC looks like. And anybody that doesn't match this, we got to find a reason for why you are here. And that reason most of the time was, okay, if you're a darker skin, you must have gotten here because of athletics. You're playing some type of sport.
Football, basketball.
I couldn't be here specifically for academics. And so here I had to kind of continue to prove, yes, I'm of darker skin, but I got here on academic scholarship.
So what did you do at UCLA?
At USC, I was in communication and focused on broadcast journalism.
Yeah.
And really started working around music and the entertainment industry in LA and really connecting the message of music for inspiration.
Yeah, well, you can't go beyond. You can't, can you? It has to be involved because that's what it's all about. It's what makes us feel better. It's how we send our messages out there to the wider community.
For sure.
And it is interesting that African American music is played all over the world, but the music is accepted, but the people are not.
That's
Unless you've
totally
got
true.
big money.
Exactly.
Unless you're up there and you've got the money, but it's amazing. Even body shapes, language.
Yep.
That non-Aboriginal, non-African Americans, the same here too.
Yep.
They take on the language, they take on the look.
Yep.
But there's still they can walk around like that with the African American look, but they're not discriminated against the same way.
No, for sure. A lot of things are culturally appropriated, and that's unfortunate. And it's exactly what you're saying, that people want to go with the trends, with the style, what's popular, what's cool, but the minute an African American is killed by the police, they're silent.
Yeah, there's a lot of silence there.
Yeah.
So Movement B, so what does that entail, Movement B?
So Movement B, we're inspiring young people to tell their story through creative writing.
Yeah.
And so, while I was a student at USC, my last day of classes, I was throwing a party. It was organized, it was registered. Everything was, about celebrating, a group of people on campus who didn't have access, to the other resources. And so for a lot of students of color, I really kind of hosted a lot of events. And so this event was organized, registered, and we had everything put together. There was another party going on who were friends of mine, but mainly white party goers. Officers came and shut my party down and told the house across the street to stay in the house and be safe. 79 LAPD officers actually showed up to my house in riot gear that night. They made a barricade on my street, 23rd and Hoover. I was arrested. And
For what?
For a noise complaint, they said.
Yeah.
They originally, they eventually let me go. And we had a protest the next day on campus. And we gathered students from that party, other students who felt that the university kind of, wasn't treating them right. And we spoke out on this issue. It got a lot of press and media, ended up on the front page of the LA Times. We had, national news, and I thought this was the solution to fight racism and discrimination.
Yeah.
And then I realized days later, people stopped talking about it, the media stopped talking about it, and, people were on to their regular lives. And that's what inspired me to say, I have to keep this story alive. And the best way to do that is through education. And so I went back to my old high school in San Diego, and I started this club after school to teach kids poetry, because that's how I dealt with my emotions during that time. You know, when you're discriminated against, you know, you're sitting there and you're like, why are people treating me this way? And the best way to kind of deal with that is to write about it. And so poetry became narrative therapy for me. I just was able to express myself emotionally through these hard times. And that inspired me to teach young people to do the same thing. And then through spoken word and slam poetry, it's how do you take those words off the page and slam it in somebody's face and say, this is who I am. And so that's really where Movement B started, from that idea of being stereotyped, being labeled, and then reclaiming the pen and realizing the pen has always been ours. It's our story, and we don't need to give that story away.
So did you find that kids didn't realise that they could actually write?
For
You know, not having that confidence. Some people cannot read and write, but they can slam. They can slam poetry.
Yep.
They can put words together, but because of, I suppose, you know, their situation, they feel that they don't have that ability.
For sure. I think the writing that we learn in school is really, you know, being politically correct, making sure that you have the right standards to the status quo. And when I talk to the kids, I'm saying write from your heart. I'm not worried about spelling right now. I'm not worried about whether, you know, you said this right. I just want you to write what's on your heart. We can fix all of that later, right? And so for sure, I think kids were very hesitant because, is this right? It's your story.
Yeah. But if they've never been told they're right, because it's always white is right, black is, you know, stand back.
Yep.
So by giving them that ability, hopefully it's giving them the opportunity, maybe, well, I can further my education.
Yep.
Or I can get this type of job. But it's building that self-confidence and awareness, I think that's
Exactly.
So you decided to come to Australia. How did you get to come to Australia and end up in Melbourne with at the Parkville College?
Yeah, no, it definitely, it was an interesting opportunity. I mean, I was connected through a representative of mine who also works with Dr. West.
Yep.
And I know he had came out to Australia before to
He
speak.
came straight from the plane straight to me.
Oh, awesome.
straight here, which was really good because he understood that respect thing about acknowledging First People.
Yep.
So yeah, straight off the plane, straight into the interview here, which is
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so he's someone I've opened up for in California, and someone I've looked up to. And so when I connected with a friend, Luca, who's here in Australia, he connected me to people in Melbourne and at Parkville College, and I thought, okay, I'm doing this work in San Diego, and my goal ultimately is to create something globally, in the sense that, I mean, we're all dealing with this all over the world. The issues that are happening here are happening here.
It's happening all across the globe with people of colour. Look, this is a great opportunity because it was funny, having Jake in here this morning, talking about Koori Courts, then having you come here talking about what you're doing for kids and juvenile justice.
Yeah.
I think you need to have a bit of a yarn, because I believe you're leaving tomorrow.
I am.
Yeah,
Wednesday morning. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe can you finish off? I mean, I think it's great that you're working in the detention centres. Like we have people working in the detention centres with our young people, but we still have issues with the age of incarcerating young kids at the age of 10. So we've got in the Northern Territory at nearly 100% of all Aboriginal kids, and that you could steal a photo from and be in jail. Where if you're a non-Aboriginal, you can assault your next door neighbour and be on bail. So it would be probably the similar things in over there as well, and especially in the poorer neighbourhoods where everyone is the same. But look, Nate, thanks very much for coming in, giving us an update of what's happening over there. Hopefully you can send me some more updates while you go back there. But I'd love you to talk to Jake about the Koori Courts that we have here.
Okay.
Maybe it's something that you can take home. And have you made much contact with First Nation people here?
A little bit, and I'm hoping to connect some more.
Yeah, that'll be good, because we've got Tribal Warrior downstairs that work with young people to kind of focus them. And as I said, we've got Jake here. But once again, thank you very much for coming on the program. Hopefully we'll keep in contact.
Definitely.
And have you got a 2-minute little
poem?
Yeah.
Yeah, do something. Stop the propaganda, there is no message. Only economics dictating politics and artificial progress made positive. This is not your favorite reality show. The revolution will not be televised. I'm not a social construct. I don't believe in this hierarchy. Authority only made me obedient to a structure that never leveled me equal. I'm the rebel without a cause, because I never needed a reason to fight for basic human rights. So don't call me this activist. I'm not here for your praise, for you to appropriate my words for goals of low self-esteem, capitalist pigs, and know the prison industry is your biggest investment. Don't dismiss the fact that there are more blacks in prison than enslaved in 1850, and that the war on drugs is greater than the war on education. We give more sentences than actually teach them, and give hope for great careers as if everyone has an equal opportunity to achieve them. I'm hungry for success, but I live in a food desert. We're Jack in the Box tacos, Big Macs, and Taco Bell nachos, cornered by liquor stores, drunk on your lies, starting up on the truth, throwing up on the contradiction on why I became so inferior to you. Stop the propaganda, there is no message. Only economics dictating politics and artificial progress made positive. This is not your favorite reality show. The revolution will not be televised. Rewind to a time where force as strong as the Haitian Revolution. Rewind to a time when Nat Turner led a slavery vote, 1841, the narrative of Frederick Douglass, the narrative of Sojourner Truth, and Ralph Ellison's Invisible Man. What's your power? Speak your truth. Show the youth that 1921, Tulsa, Oklahoma was the epicenter of black business and expansion before the KKK looted and burned every home and business, destroyed and killed every potential of the city, and celebrated the lynching of another brother gone. I call that Dred Scott. Courts rule we would never be free. Courts overturned affirmative action to obtain a degree. I got my bachelor's, but I've been working for my master's since 1853. I am Maya Angelou's Cage Bird. I am Tupac Shakur's Concrete Rose. I am the Black Jesus with the Malcolm X soul, played by Sidney Poitier and a Denzel Road. Granted Oscar for Oscar Grant for all the fathers gun violence stole. Love and revolution. Let the poetry unfold so that the music speaks of a soul unsold. The time is now to stop the propaganda. There is no message. Only economics dictating politics and artificial progress made positive. This is not your favorite reality show. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be internalized, and it starts with you.
Nat Howard. Thank you very much. He started the movement B, and his plans are to create a global curriculum for social emotional learning. So in June 2019, he launched Movement B program for both boys and girls in the local juvenile detention centres in South California. So he's here, and he leaves tomorrow, but he's introduced his program to Parkville College in Melbourne. So, hey, Nate, thanks very much for coming here.
Thank you so much for having me.
You'll be coming back.
Yes, I definitely want to come back.
Definitely come back. And you're listening to Black Chat here, broadcasting to the National Indigenous Radio Show.